What if the Cold War had never ended? The Cold War is the longest war in history. It lasted for over 45 years. It involved proxy wars, espionage, assassinations, and nearly 20 nuclear tests. Mutually assured destruction was the order of the day, and there were plenty of close calls. In 1962, a Soviet nuclear submarine almost triggered a nuclear war when it launched a torpedo towards a U.S. aircraft carrier. Then there was the Cuban Missile Crisis, which brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. But despite all that, it was never a real war. It was always just hot. So what if it had turned out cold? What if World War III had been fought with nukes? Britain, Canada, and most likely Germany would have joined the attack. It involved every nation on Earth, and it lasted for over 4 decades. But despite all that, it never escalated into a real war. That's because both sides knew that a hot war would end in a nuclear winter, so they kept things cold. The weapons were never used. The missiles never fired, the bombs never dropped. But the threat of mutually assured destruction was enough to keep the peace. It was a bizarre sort of balance, but it worked. There would be no winners. All that would be left is a nuclear winter. London, Berlin, and Ottawa would have been nuked, along with dozens of other cities around the world. Fears of nuclear war were at their peak during the 1960s. But let's say one of these incidents had gone just a little bit differently. Let's say the sub's torpedo had hit its target, or the U.S. had launched a preemptive strike against Cuba. The first cities to be nuked would have been Moscow and Washington. D.C. The Russians would have known a U.S. attack was imminent because the U.S. wouldn't have been able to contain the launch. So they would have had time to launch their own nukes. But the U.S. wouldn't have acted alone. Their allies would have struck as well. After the initial salvo, the U.S. and Russia would have exchanged nukes until both sides were completely destroyed. But let us say somehow the U.S. had managed to destroy Russia's nuclear arsenal before they could launch a single nuke. Then what? Well, the U.S. wouldn't have been in a position to rebuild. They would have been stuck in a nuclear winter of their own making. So who would have won a nuclear World War III? Well, there is only one possible answer. No one. A nuclear war is not winnable. It's a lose-lose scenario for all involved. The only certainty is that there would have been no Cold War after it. The term itself would have become obsolete because the temperature on Earth would have cooled considerably. The Cold War was the longest and most expensive war in history. Now check out what really ended the Cold War, or watch this video instead.